In our previous session, we have seen the agile methodology, what is the use of that, and why we require nowadays. Okay, so next start with this is a part of agile development where they are given the name as a Scrum. Okay, so basically, what exactly the Scrum is? So Scrum is a framework for developing a complex product and system. It is basically a process and it gives me some theoretical structure so that I can perform whatever the task is required in a very effective manner. Okay, and that's why we comes into the existence regarding this Scrum framework. So basically, the Scrum employs an iterative as well as incremental approach to optimize predictability and control risk. So when I say incremental explanation, what exactly the Scrum is, if I want to understand, then it is a lightweight framework that helps people, team, and organization which generates the adaptive solutions for a complex problem. Okay, so this is the definition given by this particular author Kane, who has given that particular part where it gives me some iterative as well as incremental approach. So if I say iterative and incremental approach, then the first picture in front of you, it is nothing but just a sketching, okay, outline. We can say the outline. I'm adding the new things in that, right? That means iterative way. If I want to perform the task, then first of all, in the first picture, I just outline that part. If something is missing or something is to get added, that I can get added in the iterative way. Second picture, I will just fulfill with that particular after sketching, that means outline. I just fill small, which is to be required, small functionality will get added in that. That means you can see here, I added, right? And finally, I'm just finishing my all the things which is to be done. Just I am finalizing that part, right? So iterative way, if I'm performing the task in the terms of if I'm come to back to our software engineering concept, then what exactly I'm doing, student? I'm into small parts at the parts of the picture. That means I'm performing this task iteratively and as well as incremental. So that is nothing but the Scrum. So that gives me actual when I say foundation behind this Scrum is nothing but we are thinking here as a say for example, if I want to consider incremental and iterative approach to optimize the predictability and to control the risk basically. Okay, so there are those two important points I'm considering. What's that? The first one is nothing but I am what I'm doing is group of people who collectively have all the skills and expertise to the work and share some acquired skills. Okay, that means they require some skills which is to be there in within them so that they can able to perform this task very effectively. So there is the most important part that we can see here, the transparency, then afterwards inspection, adaptation. These are all the things we are getting at the same time whenever we are performing the development with the help of this approach. So when I say transparency, can you able to tell me what work which I'm performing in that particular process is visible to those performing the work as well as those receiving the work? Is it correct? To whom I'm performing the task and to which I'm considering the members which are involved in that, they know each and everything. Okay, that is absolutely seed state of its three formal artifacts basically. So when I say artifacts that have low transparency can lead to decision that diminish value and increase the risk. Okay, and that's why the first important aspects I'm considering while I'm performing the task with the help of Scrum. So basically, if I want to perform or what exactly we are doing in the Scrum, so in that, first of all, we are defining our vision, means we are defining our vision, what exactly we are doing. Then afterwards, we are performing the tasks in the product backlog. That means every product which I am going to execute, that is to be divided basically. Okay. And that is given to the, in the term, they are given the names over there. So product backlog is there. Then afterwards, sprint backlog is there. Then afterwards, we are performing some sprint which is to be required for planning to review. Okay. So basically, every day means daily Scrum activities to be carried out for 30 days into 24 hours. So they are to be considering that everybody who are involved in that particular activity, they are all sit together every day. They perform the task and they just give the inspection as well as they perform the adaptation process. So in the inspection, what exactly they are doing? The Scrum artifacts and the process towards agreed goals. That means whatever the goals they are provided, that means vision. According to that, they will be inspected frequently and delicately to detect the potentiality which is to be there to perform, or how we are going to solve a particular problem that we can able to understand in the help of inspection. In that, if I want to understand this particular point, what exactly I am doing, student? I'm just performing the task which enables the adaptation. Inspection without adaptation is considered pointless. Okay, that means both is to be most important in this Scrum. So Scrum events are designed to provoke the change. Basically, why this particular concept comes into the existence? Just because of the need of the customer is changing, right? When I say changing, that means adaptation of a change is to be required and which is to be not carried out in some process model, which is to be called as a generic process model. And so that every company is now moving from first a generic process model development to agile development. Okay, and this is the first part. We have seen in our previous session that what are the 7 reasons why we are moving from generic process model to agile. Okay, so here when I say Scrum values, you can see in this in this diagram. Just a minute. The script backlog is basically considered they are going to perform this task from 24 hours to 30 days. In that, we are considering 3 to 4 days are assigned for the changing. That means if the change is to be there for the particular increment where I'm performing some iterative operation, and then that part, if I want to go to the change, then it is possible. After script review, there is no acceptance of change. This is the most important aspects we have to consider in the form of, again, agile. So whenever there are some period of time is to be fixed so that we can accept the change and we can perform the task like that. And after final release of the product, what exactly we are doing? Again, we are considering that is my product is up to mark according to my vision or according to my requirements. Okay, when I say vision, that is nothing but the requirements of the system. So what are the different roles and responsibilities are there that we have to understand now? So basically, when I consider this particular Scrum, then that are consider some values. Okay, so successful use of Scrum depends on people becoming more proficient in the living of their particular values. So there are 5 values we have to consider. First one is commitment. Second one is focus. Third one is openness. Fourth one is respect, and the fifth one is courage. Okay, so if I want to understand this process, the first thing we have to consider here, the Scrum team commits to achieving its goal and to supporting each other. This is the most important thing. If I'm working with the team, or if I'm work in the particular point where I have to understand the team spirit, where I have to understand who is good in which condition, and I want to motivate them every time. It is not like that if somebody is not able to perform well, then we don't want to do motivate. No, we want to motivate in such a manner that he can able to perform that task very well. So we are achieving that particular goal in such a manner that we are to perform the task, and we are to always towards the goal, right? So the Scrum team and its basically stakeholders are open about the work and the challenges which is to be there in my whenever I'm working that particular system. And Scrum team members respect each other. This is the most important part, that we have to respect to each other whenever we are working independently, as well as we are capable to do this task, and respect in as such a by the people with whom they work, right? So Scrum team members have the courage, the most important part, that they have courage so that they can perform the work which is to be required when considering the tough problems is arises in front of them, then they can able to perform very well. Okay. So in the first consider this particular diagram where I have added, this is the just a script. That means what is the role of Scrum Master over here? What exactly mean by product backlog? What exactly mean by script planning? What exactly mean by script backlog? That we have to understand with the help of this diagram. If I want to understand how the execution is of the Scrum is going to carried out, then and then only I can able to perform that task in a practical manner. Okay. So here the most important thing we have to understand the end user requirement. That means input from the end user which is coming in front of me, that is to be takes place in such a way that it is to be involvement of the end user or customer, team and other stakeholders. That everybody's input should be there so that the product owner decide what should be produced so as to achieve that particular success. Okay. So in that point, the inputs from the users, which is to be coming, as well as inputs which is coming from the manager, or we can consider team manager, we can consider stakeholders, we are considering here industry person experts, we are considering the executives, everybody who are giving me the input. According to that, that product manager, that means the features, the owner is having that particular knowledge which is to be comes under, and that is to be divided into features, and that features are now moving to the product backlog. So products, the product backlog which contains the features of the product to be produced in order to priority. They have to set some features, that features are to be assigned in the priority manner, that which task we have to execute first. Okay. Say for example, if I want to give you example of medical field, तो यहाँ पे सर्दी खांसी जिसको हुआ है उसको ज्यादा प्रायोरिटी देगा, या जिसको हार्ट का प्रॉब्लम हुआ है उसको ज्यादा प्रायोरिटी दे जाएगा? Obviously, who is facing that problem much more, we can say, prominently, then and then only we can decide the features. Based on that, we have to execute that particular task in such a manner that the priority is get assigned and product owner is having that rights to execute that task. Okay. So for the purpose here, the responsibility for the product backlog is considering the product owner. That means they have responsibility for the product backlog and maximizing the product ROI. So basically, whenever we are considering the responsibility, that means what are the roles and responsibilities of the each person who are involved in that particular team, that we have to understand here. When I say product backlog, basically what do you mean by product backlog? Product backlog kya hai? It is just contains the features which is to be get executed first, that I have to decide in the product backlog. Features are get listed, input is to be taken place from the product owner is responsible for that part, and product backlog is nothing but just features which are going to execute by the, to whom now? Team members, right? To whom we have to consider that in order to get the priority. Okay. Then represents the user. So here clearly express the backlog items. That means clearly he can explain the what exactly the input is, what are the features are, and what are the priorities we have to mention in order to get that particular task, and ensure the visibility. That means transparency should be there. So that is the most important aspect whenever we are considering the Scrum. Now, next part, when I consider features or when I consider product backlog. So basically, product backlog is a single master list of features, which is nothing but the functionality. Okay. So for example, order based on business values and risks. So that is I have to consider in the first term, which is to be required to get added in my feature. So product backlog is constantly being revised. Why it is going to revise? Because sometimes customer gives me the input like that, I want this in functionality to be get executed first, and the other one which is to be listed previously. So the product backlog is revised by the product owner to maximize the business success. That means I have to achieve the high um, um, high goal that we can consider as maximize the business success of that particular team's effort, so that the team which is I'm going to select, which is nothing but a committed team, or we can say uh, who is having all the characteristics which is to be required in order to achieve that particular transparency, commitment, then everything is responsibility, everything is to be there, and it is to be given to that particular team, right? And so that whatever the things which is to be get added in my product backlog, that is to be nothing but a single source of requirement for any change. This is the most important part. Single source of requirements for any change to be made to the product. Product is nothing but system development. So that is to be get added in the product backlog, and that product backlog gives me the priority wise features so that I can able to I can able to give that task to the team members. So list the particular of the particular product backlog will never be end, just because if the period time is to be mentioned according to that only. Order is to be given with the help of values, risk, priority, and necessity. When I say priority and necessity, can you able to tell me what is the task for which I am considering the requirements? Okay. Next, what exactly I want to now do? Now let's understand the spirit planning meeting. What exactly it is? It ideally consists of 7 plus or minus 2 people. That means who are involved in the team. That means either 7 or minus 2. That means how much? 5. So maximum 7, minimum 5 people are involved in the team. The team has to be cross-functional, which containing the members from the different verticals required for developing the product. The team is self-organized and self-managing, which makes a commitment and manages its responsibilities. So this is to be required for a particular team. So here I define two parts where we can consider the time box meeting, where 8 hours, they are mentioning that how much time is required to execute that task. So 8 hours, which can consider 1 month basically from the particular spirit point of view, consider the planning for the particular spirit. It defines what will be delivered in the increment. So that is to be considered according to the team's items which is to be get selected from the product backlog. According to the priority, they will get execute and define the spirit goal. Also, they define the increments will be achieved for the particular spirit or not. That means how we are going to execute that task. So items are converted into tasks and they estimate that task according to the need of the customer. Next thing we have to consider here, the most important part where we have to accept the sprint backlogs. So basically sprint backlog is what is referred to the fixed period of time the team commits to work in course of developing the product, where the spirit decides by the team and the product vendor. Means who is responsible to perform this task. If I want to ask you this question for the sprint backlog, then the team as well as product owner is responsible. So working at a sustainable pace is important to avoid the burnout. So that is the most important task we are doing in this particular spirit backlog. The next one is what? The next one we are before each spirit. That means before going to execute that particular spirit, what exactly the team members will do? The team members will select what will be commit to delivery by the end of the spirit. That means what exactly we want to deliver to the end user. That is first commitment part. And is it fulfill or not? That is to be checked by the spirit, this particular team members. The team creates a task level plan for how they will be delivered. The team works together to create an initial assignment of the task, which is to be considered according to the total estimated task, which is given according to the cost as well as how much time is to be required to execute that task and how much time I am available to execute that. So the total commitment is reasonable. Okay. So here we are to consider the most important task, which is to be considered as everyone on the team takes a part regardless of what type of experience level they have. So everybody should take a part to execute this particular spirit. Now next important part is that if something major comes, that means when changes are going to be when changes are going to be takes place in my spirit. So basically during the spirit, what the team committed to deliver does not change. That means if I want to understand this concept, no change, no duration, which is to be required for the particular spirit, 1 to 4 weeks once I complete and I have delivered that particular spirit to the end user, then that time changes are not to be get accepted. That means that this enables the team to make and keep commitments to give the team focus and stability during the spirit, so that the product owner is clearly think that whatever they have done is according to the need of the customer from the product backlog. And if something major comes up, that means if something to be get changed or something to be required to change, then product owner can direct the team to terminate the spirit permanently, okay, and short a new one. That means immediately that task will be get stopped and new change which is to be required from the customer will be get added in the new spirit, okay, and that task will be get executed. So in return for not making change during the spirit, the product owner can make any change they want to product to that particular product backlog before the start of the next spirit. Means whichever the next feature I'm going to execute from this particular product backlog, before that I can able to change it, but there is no change will be get carried out after the spirit is going to be delivered. Okay, so product owner can add, remove, reorder, or change the items which is to be required, which is to be comes in the product backlog, and can also ask the team to re-implement the work that's already been completed. Okay, so whose responsibility of doing this task? The product owner. Okay, the next one is what we have to consider the daily scrum meetings, and we have to consider what are the updates is required. Okay, so basically it is called as the artifacts. So each day the team has a short meeting to update each other on progress and the backlogs which is to be required for to execute, and they stand up and they keep start executing that task. So to keep the meeting which is to be required less than 15 minutes, every day they will do this task, and then everyone report just three things: what has done yesterday, what we want to do today, and what are we going to do perform this task by tomorrow, and what are the backlogs are there. So the scrum master, the role of the scrum master will be now comes into the existence here. The scrum master is taking that notes and afterwards helps to resolve them. If that is to be considered over there, then that is to be get added. So whatever the product backlog refinement is to be carried out, that is to be always done by the product owner, but scrum master is responsible for updation of these meetings, and whatever they have done in that particular meeting is to be get carried out with the help of scrum master. So other can attend the meeting if the team invites them, no problem, but they do not speak basically here. That means if other wants to attend that particular meeting, they can attend it thus as an attendee, but they cannot able to speak to get their ideas or to get their views. Okay, then the daily scrum, I told you that 15 minutes time boxes event for the team by synchronize the activities, what has been accomplished from the last one to the next one, what exactly we want to do, that we have to perform, what we have to do, what will be done before the next meeting. That means what exactly the planning to execute the task, and what obstacles are there. If there are there, then how we are going to execute that. So these are all things we have to perform in this particular the role of the scrum master. Now next one is what called as a burn down. So when I say burn down, basically it is nothing but the basically what exactly the role of the burn down is over here. The scrum master is a new role basically. So what exactly is playing the role? First of all, he is taking the all the minutes of meetings that particular point for the particular script, and it can be displayed by the existing person who is considered as a team member, or who is considered as a project manager, former project manager. They are all involved in a scrum master. So the scrum master serves the teams. Basically he is helping to considering that which type of things which we can add in this particular script, or which thing is to be required to perform, or which is to be most important task we want to do. So he can serve the team, he can protect the team, and he can teach as well as guide the team. So everything which is to be required